Welcome to the World United. Welcome to the World United.
Panel discussion is going to be on integration of different spiritual schools of thought. When spirituality is same, truth is one. There is so much of diversity among different schools of thought related to truth, related to spirituality. Many a time, many people have been conditioned, have been believing, have been programmed to feel and understand that one's own perception and perspectives are ultimate and ultimate truth. So, based upon this, there is less openness for any other perspective, less open for any other idea if it comes from different spiritual school of thought. There is a common observation we all have been seeing across the world. So, with so much of diversity in spiritual thinking, when spirituality is different from my spirituality, everybody has something called as my spirituality, my truth. But my spirituality and my truth is dominating. How this integration of different schools of thought can happen really? How the individuals who are attached to different types of individual teachers, who are attached to different types of spiritual institutions, spiritual academies, and spiritual trainings, spiritual workshops, and even spiritual books, so on and so forth, how this actual integration can happen, and how do you think it can be made possible? I would like to begin with Heike Strombach about how you are seeing this point of view, how this integration of spiritual schools of thought are going to be. I would like to listen to you, Heike.
Thank you. Well, I think and feel that over the last years, there's a big change in consciousness and a deeper connection of people from heart to heart, and that we are entering a new phase for the world. That's my hope, and that's what I experience, that we can connect beyond the differences, that we can connect to each other, and that we can share what we have to give to the world. And so I'm very happy that we are all here together, because it is about sharing just our aspects, because if we are one, there's different aspects. We all have different aspects of the truth, and it is not complete if we keep just that little piece of the whole puzzle. We cannot see the whole picture if we do not connect to each other and the other aspects of the truth. So I'm very optimistic, and at this point I am reaching out to, in the breathwork world, as well as to other teachers and other friends, because I feel that it is happening. And the biggest problem is the competition and the ego, and that we have that we feel invalidated if somebody else has different aspects of the truth. And so if we have that love and that self-confidence inside of us, we can actually really relate to each other. And one of the biggest problems, I think, of teachers is that they usually have a very good relationship with their students, but very few relationships on the equal level. So we want relationships of equally powerful people, that we are not afraid of the power or the beauty or the knowingness that other people have. So we want to be able to appreciate the beauty and what we have to give to the world, and see that uniqueness that that we have to give to the world. So having equal-based, powerful relationships is, I think, the key, that we can trust also. We can trust that other people love us and they don't have to invalidate us. And that is true for people as students, in groups of students, because there can also be competition and having to prove that we are somebody better or different than we are, that we don't accept our shadows. And we can see that in people on all levels of experience. So the ego has been the problem in the past, but I can see that that is dissolving worldwide. And so when we can overcome that desire, and I loved what Jacqueline said in the beginning, you know, we don't have to just present ourselves and make ourselves the one who has all the knowledge, that we can really be humble. So humbleness, I think, is one of the keys for working together.
Yes, thanks a lot, Heike. Thanks for elaborate, beautiful presentation of about how different spiritual schools of thought need to be understood, and how this competition and comparison modes can be minimized, and how we can be really humble to accept with honesty what we are and what we are not. But many a time the gurus cannot display to their own students and disciples about what they are not, and they cannot accept that fact that they do not know. So at least even if they do not say they do not know, but yet they display and behave as if they know. So this is a common tendency which is seen many times, but still okay, fine. Here with I have a question for you, Jacqueline. If you observe different spiritual schools of thought, a novice, a student, a pupil is attracted or attached to a guru or his teacher. Very fine, because the personality of the teacher or guru is flamboyant, very much vibrant, and is common tendency for a pupil who is at a denser frequency or little lower frequency than his or her guru. So definitely attracted and follows. So how can we draw a line between this followership and discipleship and studentship? How do we draw the difference between how a student should be actually? Because, you know, a good student is one, as we have discussed, is more attracted to teachings than the teacher. And in search of teachings, he definitely finds so many teachers, not one teacher, but so many teachers. Yeah. When his search for is only for guide or guru, he will stop at one point. He will not move further. And he thinks that he has arrived, because he accepts emotionally, psycho-emotionally, that a person is his guru or guide, his guru. But deep down, a true novice moves ahead, moves forward to learn from many, many teachers so that he becomes himself finally. So how do you find the difference between having multiple teachers? Like a teacher has multiple students, a student should also have multiple teachers. How do you, what are your inputs and views and perspective on this point of view?
Okay, well, I've been very aware that on certain pathways, disciples are kind of taught that you stick with the one guru, you know, and I've actually heard somebody say to a student, if you go to his satsang, don't bother coming back to mine. So there is a lot of this about. On the other hand, we also see the student who follows somebody for a little while and then starts getting in touch with something painful, projects the pain onto the teacher and leaves the teacher and finds another. So it's a bit of a dilemma, you know. People need to stick with something long enough for the teaching or the energy or the technique to do the work. But then to tell somebody that they mustn't go to any other teacher, that for me is just real egotism. So, you know, I don't really know the exact answer to this. I can just say that when I'm with students, if it's in a satsang or if we're chatting over coffee or something, I'm just very honest about what I see, and we share things. But on this planet, because there is quite still a lot of density, a lot of darkness, people will always go down side roads. And, I just trust that sooner or later, somebody who gets stuck with the wrong guru or thinks that's the only way, something will come along and shake them out of that. One thing I enjoy doing is I enjoy finding really, really wonderful teachings that don't have anything to do with any spiritual pathway or any teacher, or anything. And I find this a lot with musicians and some of the songs that are written. I don't know if you know Kirtana. Kirtana has written some very, very fine songs. And I asked her if I could print one of her songs in my book, one of my books. It's called The Train Song. And it's the best teaching I've ever heard on the mind. It starts off with, just because the tracks are laid and just because your ticket's paid for, you don't have to board the train, right? And to trace the thoughts that come and go. We're not these thoughts. And I enjoy presenting these teachings, which you could read in the Upanishads or, the Bible or wherever. I enjoy them, like in a modern song, and, a woman singing along with her guitar, but the teaching is the same. But I always trust that sooner or later, and especially if people are open, that sooner or later they will realize I can also learn something over here, But I would also say to all who play the role of the guru or the spiritual teacher, just be aware. If there is a tendency within you to want to hang on to your disciples, then you might use a bit of self-inquiry. Who wants to hang on to the students? I do. Yes, but who am I? And go inside and see if you can find that one who wants to hang on to the disciples, right? We need to keep using techniques on ourselves as long as something is there that needs to be purified.
Yeah, wonderful, Jacqueline. There are all types of permutations and combinations in terms of understanding the teacher, the teachings, the guru and disciple.
Yeah.
So thanks a lot. So Heike, I have another question for you regarding the same integration of spiritual schools of thought. The schools of thought are different, but at a root level, at a deeper level, at a subtle level, the essence of all spiritual schools of thought is all same. Like we have different religions. 100 years before, the religions dominated the world of spirituality. The faith has dominated the truth. And there was every given reason to create or have or expect the interfaith harmony. So many wars happened between religions. More than 1 billion people have been killed, massacred brutally. More than any world war, people died in the name of religion, in the name of maintaining their faith. But with spirituality, the essence of all religions dominating the picture, the truth dominating the dogma, still there is some element of spiritual fundamentalism. Like there has been religious fundamentalism, there is an element of spiritual fundamentalism as well. When I say spiritual fundamentalism, sticking intolerantly to only one school of thought, not willing to learn from any teacher, not willing to explore any other spiritual school of thought, not being curious or adventurous enough to explore the subtle layers of truth within and without. So all these elements are there. All these elements put together, let me call it as the spiritual fundamentalism. How do you think we can remove and eliminate the spiritual fundamentalism and make a student or pupil awaken from within with a lot of grace and dignity and beauty. Am I clear?
Yes.
Thank you.
First of all, I'll like to share that I considered Leonard Orr, he was my guru, and I had a typical Indian guru-disciple relationship with him. And Leonard used to say that the true guru is the conscious self. So my conscious self is my guru, my guide, and a physical guru or a spiritual guru can help me to get there to my conscious self. And so speaking the truth is fundamental, that we don't hide our shadows. And the fundamentalism is I think only happens when we get stuck with one thought, because I think the truth is that all spiritual teachings, truth teachings, not just different techniques or method or something, but the truth of everything is the same. It's all the same. It talks about the energy, the all that is, in different names and in different forms. And when we have that awareness and that experience of that higher truth, we don't get stuck in the mind. So every good technique or every good method, every school has to have that integrated, that we actually having that personal experience of love and truth. And I think when we have that personal experience, then we don't get stuck. So, and in all teachings, I think that where I find truth, it is always about looking at our different aspects, like our mind, and see what kind of quality thoughts we have in the mind. And if we question our thoughts, if we always keep questioning thoughts, beliefs, fruits of our mind, then we will not get stuck. And it's not just one aspect of it, but to keep searching. And I like what Jacqueline said, because when we have one guru, which we really allow to know us and to give us feedback, and loving feedback, then we are open to have another guru. And it's really important that we allow our shadow to come to the surface. And that, I think, is the basic of all spiritual development. So if we look at spiritual teachings, it always starts with developing our personality, so that the personality becomes pure enough so that we can experience actually the higher truth. And there is no fundamentalism, because all the gurus, real gurus on the spiritual level, they're working together. There is no division, and the light beings, they don't have competition, which archangel is higher and more competent and things like that. I think that's only just our ego. And so if we go in all spiritual teachings to the higher reality, competition will just fall away.
Yes, correct, perfect. So when it comes to the real meaning of the essence of Guru, it's all dispelling of ignorance, it's all dispelling of darkness. And yeah, thank you very much, Heike.
And it is also the recognition of who I truly am, remembering my spiritual being, and being in tune with that, listening to my heart. That's what was said before, so that I have an understanding and knowing of that what is within.
Okay, thank you. Thanks a lot. And the gurus or masters or guides, whatever you call it, the awakened ones or enlightened ones, the Buddhas, all the Christs, all the Krishnas, all Mahaviras, whoever, whatever name that we have kept to them, everybody is excellent. The problem is, the problem is with the students. When two students from different schools of thought meet with each other, they talk about the greatness and leelas of their gurus. Yeah, that's also nice, not an issue. But problem is they're much more addicted, much more attracted, attached to their guru, so much so that they're unable to learn from many, many masters. That's the only problem. That is the problem with students, basically. So there are all types of masters in all different shapes and sizes. The masters different only in size and shape, but the essence of mastery is all same, as you have rightly depicted, Heike Strombach. There are some masters who have multiple teachers, like Socrates. Socrates had many spiritual teachers, like almost 6 teachers: Lucippus, Democritus, Procedes. He also had women teachers to Socrates, and he had legendary students like Plato and many other people like Academicus and so on and so forth. So there are two versions now: the traditional schools, where the guru-disciple relationship is very, very strong, where the knowledge and wisdom flows from one generation to another generation, with the form of direct teachings, with the form of direct experience, with the form of creating proper environment to the student, proper learning environment to the student. All these things are happening, and that we are calling it as Gurukul, at least in India. So convents, maybe convents in Europe, or maybe different names in different continents and countries. But now learning is most important, teaching is most important. So in this scenario, is there anything a guru should learn from the student, Jacqueline? Is there anything the guru should learn from student? Is there anything the student offers as teaching to the guru?
Well, throughout the years, I've learned many things from my students, obviously. And I would say the teacher must be open, the guru must be open to learn from the student, because it also depends so much on the guru, really, and how much experience he or she has working with people in this way. Because I try to keep an openness over for my students, that one of them doesn't say something to me and I quickly put him or her in that box because it reminds of somebody else. So I try to keep an openness. I might have heard the story before so many different times from different ones, but I try to keep an openness to feel this one sitting here in this moment. And this, I feel, for me is a great teaching, to be better at what I'm doing, how to be with my students in the best possible way. Because a lot of the stories we do hear again and again, but we've got to be really, I would say, in the now, totally present, fresh in this moment, even though we've heard something similar many times before. And I just feel so touched by the openness of the students. It's amazing what they just, look into my eyes and tell me without any hesitation. And this is a great gift also for the student, that they can do this, because whatever is stuck down there, it needs to come out, but it needs this open heart space to be able to do it. But I've learned a lot from my students and continue to do so.
Yes, Jacqueline. Yeah, you do learn a lot from your students, definitely, because Guru is the one who is the greatest learner. The greatness of Guru is related to his capacity to learn, basically. Yes. It is the capacity to learn which makes him a Guru, not the capacity to teach. But primarily it is capacity to learn. So he also learns how to teach as a part of learning. Yes. So teaching is also a part of learning, and teaching cannot be separated from learning. So rightly said, Jacqueline, thank you very much. And what are the three great things you have learned from the teachers of you, Heike Strombach. There are so many things you have learned from Leonardo R, and you have also met so many wonderful spiritual masters in your life. And I know the relationship, the guru-student relationship that we have with Leonardo R, whom I also met and been in touch with him for the past few decades. Though he's physically not there, but at the spirit level, he's almost always readily available. Maybe he's present today also at this moment. Yeah, maybe. Yeah. And his contribution to the world in terms of physical immortality cannot be forgotten. It is a legendary teacher. Wonderful. And what are the greatest lessons you have learned from your teacher or teachers, whatever? The three most important lessons. That
Yes.
would be
Well,
beneficial.
I don't know if I can make the three most important, but I was just thinking, my relationship with Leonard and what I learned from it, he was the simplicity that he lived, the simplicity of not complicating my mind, things with my mind, to just be with the situation as it is. And I was just thinking, you know, when we talk about students, having students, and I think what with Leonard, everybody could be his friend. There was no hierarchy in the relationship. I mean, he was a very clear and precise thinker, and he had his ideas of how things had to go. But there was no higher and lower. He was just an equal, and the beautiful love to really be present with all people and to listen. So in my work now, my basic understanding and tool is just listening to people. I listen to what they have to tell me, and that gives me insights and that humbleness. And when my ego was too rough, Leonard would really point that out to me. And so I love that honesty, and that created humbleness inside of me. Being okay to make mistakes, but also that real humbleness and love for everything that is. And he was a great example of loving people and just being okay with whatever is presented in front of us. So I think what I learned most is not, well, the practices and my spiritual purification practices that I do every day is on the basic practical level, designing my life, or I'm designing my life according to my practices. But the real inner wisdom that he taught me was to listen to feedback, to listen to other people, to listen to their truths, and to share myself honestly with other people. And that includes my shadow and everything that is, and I make the best seminars out of my shortcomings. So that's the most fun, that we can talk about the hurts that we had in the past and how to transcend it.
Yeah, wonderful. So we have learned so many very, very important lessons, like simplicity, readiness to learn from everyone. Yeah, that these are most important lessons. So the more higher you go, the results become more simpler.
Right.
And to learn simple lessons in a hard way is the name of the game, it seems. So greatest truth and greatest lessons are the most simple, most obvious ones. So
and it's all embedded in love.
Yeah. So here with I found a very interesting similarity between Heike and Jacqueline here. While Heike is, though she knows many spiritual masters, he is much more influenced, much more into the teachings of Leonardo R, who is the founder of Rebirthing International. And Jacqueline, as I know, you have been to many spiritual schools of that to become what you are right now, and we have immense students. So wow, you are once a student, but now a guru, both of you, Heike and Jacqueline. And here with, among all the great spiritual masters whom you have met, I know you have been to Osho, you have been to different types of spiritual masters, and you have so much of learning, so much of teachings to contribute to the world. And here with my question for you is, what are the 3 greatest lessons that you have learned from the teachers you have met to become what you are right now, today? The lessons are your teachings to your students as well, and also the listeners who are listening across the world now.
Okay. Can I say one thing?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, because it came up when you were talking before. One of the things that touched me most, it was, have you heard of Tirtha? His name is also Paul Lowe. I spent some time with him in Pune, and he was a very powerful energy master. And I was in a mess at the time. It was back in the 70s. And he looked at me one day, he looked right in my eyes and he said, "It's okay not to be okay." And that went right in. And I never, ever forgot it.
Wow.
That was one of the greatest gifts I received. So there's a lot of other ones. We'll see what else comes. But that touched me so deeply. It never left me.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know, my real guru was a man that nobody really knew. His name was Devadas. He was a Swedish man, and he lived in this little hippie place called Bromlebu here in Copenhagen. But he became my guru. I sat with him 10 minutes in an auto rickshaw once in Pune, and I said, "I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you." He said, "Let's see what existence arranges." And I had many wonderful years with him. And what he was an expert in, it was like showing me my mind. Or, just, I would say something and he would throw it back in me in such a way that I could have closed down and be hurt. But there was something about my connection with him. I could stay open and feel it. I rang him once and he took the phone and I said, "Hi, Devadas, it's me." And he said, "Oh, well, it had to be somebody." And this, me, it was like it was echoing all over the room. It could have been so embarrassing. Yeah. But I could stay in touch with that energy he was activating within me and just see, oh, okay, I want to be something special for Devadas. It was wonderful to have a teacher on that level. He had no other disciples. He was a real guru. But it's wonderful to have a teacher in ordinary everyday life that just keeps showing you the whole time what's going on in your mind without you really thinking about it. It was a great gift.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I have a final question, Heike and Jacqueline. So with this panel discussion on integration of different spiritual schools of thought, what is the final message you would like to give to the viewers? The sense of what the whole life you have lived, both as a student, both as a practitioner, both as a teacher, both as a guide to many people across the world. So what would be, if I ask you, what would be the most ultimate and final lesson you would like to give to the viewers through the platform of the World Parliament on Spirituality?
Well, yes, you go first, Heike.
Okay. I think the final lesson, it's not really final, but it is at this time when the world is going through this turmoil and it seems like we are getting lost and drowning in materialism, that allow only messages. And I recently heard that from somebody that taught me something. It's like only allowing messages to come to us that uplift us and that are uplifting to other people, so that we keep our minds and our hearts in that oneness, in that love that we truly are, and filtering out all the messages that give us the impression that we are doomed, or that we are that the world is drowning and we don't have hope. So mastering our life and mastering ourselves is really dependent on, first of all, our thoughts, our consciousness, that we the principles that we allow to get to us and that are running our life, and to be spiritually enlightened. And according to Leonard Orr's vision or definition of spiritual enlightenment, is to understand that energy becomes what it thinks about. So if I understand that I am vibrating, that my physical body, my energy body, my emotional body is vibrating in the energy that I'm producing, mostly, first of all, in my mind, but then also in my energy body. And so my suggestion or my message would be, become aware what you, spiritual divine being, light being, what you're thinking about, what you're vibrating, and doing practices that you actually feel making a difference in your structure, in your physical body, in your emotional body, and in your connection with other people. So being aware of the present moment is a wonderful tool, and to stop those thoughts that give us that destroy us and that are destructive to the world. Choosing love and choosing loving thoughts.
Yeah, choosing love and choosing loving thoughts. Yes. So it is a finally narrowing down oneself to the greatest choice available that makes us what we ought to become. That's the final message. Yes, thank you very much, Heike. And over to you, Jacqueline. What would be the essence of your entire life, the essence of your entire teaching? And what would be, if I ask you, what would be the message you would like to give through this platform of World Parliament on Spirituality to the viewers watching you all of the world? So what would be the message?
First of all, stay tuned in. Be aware of where your energy is at. Hold the highest vibration. It's interesting also something Heike was saying, because I'm very much aware of some of the very good investigative journalists. I spent 7 years with an investigative journalist, but whenever I shared what they were sharing, I always did energy work with people afterwards, that they didn't get sucked into the low vibration in some of the stuff that is being told today. And I say to my students, if you listen to the TV or an investigative journalist and you go into fear or you get pulled in, stop, leave it alone. Stay tuned in, come to the heart, hold you by highest vibration. The first book I wrote, The Last Waltz, it was about the enlightened consciousness embracing the collective shadow, right? Just as we have to embrace our own shadows, some of us are here to embrace the collective shadow, but you can only do that if you can stay clear and tuned in the face of the information that's coming out. So this is one of my main teachings to people: stay tuned in, right? And also I say to people, please don't judge yourself, because judgment's a very low vibration. It's a big stumbling block. And trust, and you do things that get you into your heart. It can be music, dancing, nature, whatever keeps you tuned into the heart and helps you hold a high vibration, then you stick with that. It might not be the same as what your partner's doing or somebody else is doing, but do what feels good for you. and keep your vibration as high as possible and trust.
Wonderful, wonderful, Jacqueline. Yeah, this reminds me of Gautama the Buddha, who at the end of every speech that he used to give after attaining enlightenment, he used to say in Pali language, Charai Veti, Charai Veti. Charai Veti means in Pali language, keep moving, keep moving. Don't stop, keep moving. So, so this is the ultimate message to all the viewers of the World Parliament, with two magnificent souls on the panel discussion one on the track one of day one of World Parliament Europe. So this is ultimate message from two magnificent souls, Heike Strombach and Jacqueline Maria Longstaff. Excellent. Thank you very much, both of you, Heike and Jacqueline. Thanks a lot for enlightening all the viewers across the world.